My only confession is that I barely play Coolkid. The last time I played him was when his milestone skins dropped, so I will warn you, take everything I say with a pinch of salt. I may have lots of experience in this game, but none of that transfers to Coolkid. The way I usually do these analysis videos is by targeting a specific playstyle that the killer caters to. Jason is primarily a standard running chases guy, John Doe is a trapper killer, 1x is sniping every 11 seconds, and Noli is being a trickster with a really heavy asterisk in the corner. Coolkid does something. To be honest, I'm not sure what he's good at all since his kit isn't designed to be one thing in particular. All of his moves have entirely different purposes and can also be repurposed into an entirely different move. It's not clear what he's good at since, well, he's kinda good at everything. He has the sprint speed of Jason, allowing him to keep up in basic running chases, but he lacks stamina. He has a ranged ability similar to Noli that slows people down and is instantly cast, but is incredibly slow. He has a powerful move similar to 1x with a quick windup, tons of damage, and a low cooldown. The only thing separating this from Mass Infection is the fact that it applies a status speed buff that can kill. And similar to John Doe, he can pressure the whole team without actively being in chase with minions instead of blocking paths, or have those minions cut off a survivor similar to Corrupt Energy. The latter is a lot less common, to be honest. It's a very random occurrence and is really luck dependent that the minions don't dry hump their pathfinding, but hey, they do what they do. His kit doesn't cater to one specific playstyle, and to be honest, it kind of bugs me. Not only that, when I come to look at Coolkid tutorials on YouTube in specific, I see tons of outdated tutorials that include that stupid fucking 7-frame 40 damage move. Okay, I'll stop mentioning it now. This was that move that made me hate this stupid kid for the better part of 3 months. As far as I can tell, Coolkid looks like an all-rounder, I think at least. His gameplay loop feels no different from Jason's. The majority of my damage comes from holding W and clicking M1 occasionally, but this time I got a 2745 damage move. It's an improvement. I don't have much history playing as Coolkid, nor do I have any recognizable memories playing against him because, well, he feels like a nothing burger. Pitting him up against killers like John Doe, 1x, and Noli, and he easily becomes a boring killer right alongside Jason. Not only that, I see people compare Noli's kit with Coolkid's, saying that Noli is just a better version, and to some extent, yes. Both killers have the strengths and weaknesses that I'll just keep a secret for the next video. A question always pops into my head whenever I load into a match as Coolkid. What the hell do I do? And then I lose. It's not my fault since it genuinely feels like a killer that I just press buttons with, but despite that, I see this guy constantly in competitive Forsaken. He's like the second most picked killer, with the top being an incredibly obvious pick. There's something I'm just not seeing at all. He has some extra weaknesses that need some time adjusting to, and a kit that seems to have no direction at all. So why the hell is this guy a top pick in the competitive scene? He's 5 years old and is part of an evil Roblox gang. What does he have that I'm unaware of? Oh wait, now that I think about it, he is kind of strong up close. If I had to describe his playstyle, it'd be the word Brawler. Is he like Jason? Kinda. He doesn't have a way to win stamina game that isn't slow burning it with a 0.5 increase on both stamina drain and regen. This meant that the majority of Coolkid players do something that happens right in front of your eyes, restarting chases. You see this in killers like Jason, Coolkid, and Noli. Restarting chase just means that both the killer and survivor initiate chase with max stamina. The way these 3 killers get by is by getting as close as possible so that it ends up in their favor when they do start draining all their stamina. You rarely see this gameplay with Jonathan or 1x since they have other methods to pressure or deal damage from afar. Johnny could cut survivors off with Corrupt Energy and force them to go towards them, and 1x is not only all ranged but also has entanglement, which guarantees an easy M1 or 2, so long as the survivor isn't on Xbox or mobile. Even if we categorize killers by how they restart chases, Coolkid is easily the weakest among his peers. Jason has raging pace, which allows him to keep chasing while also pressuring survivors to expend stamina, which sometimes guarantees a kill if used at a specific moment. And Noli has both a teleport and a void rush. His teleport just straight up allows him to get across the map in seconds, and his void rush, while very similar to Walkspeed Override, can not only be feinted but also cancelled mid-cast. Coolkid has legs. Not much he can do other than slow burn the survivor since he can't close the mid-range. How is he a strong killer if he can't get there? Well, yeah, he's weak at chases, but he makes up for it when he's in reach. He's an exceptional killer up close, and his kit reflects that significantly. His basic M1s are incredibly short, making it so that you practically need to be on top of a survivor to get really any hits in. His hitboxes also linger for 0.05 seconds longer, and yeah, it isn't much, but we'll take what we can get, I guess. The only major downside to his M1 is that it's on a 2-second cooldown, and if you could remember, last time that was there, it was a torturous experience for the killer. However, this doesn't matter since Coolkid's M1s are the fastest in the game. trigger warning, it's 7 frames. It's not 40 damage. It's okay. The era of Forsaken is over. It's 26.5 damage per swing. This gives him one of the lowest DPSs in the game. However, Coolkid wasn't just meant for swinging. But damn was I inclined to believe so. I could name so many moments where I somehow managed to do a full 360 and encompass myself entirely in red hitboxes. This thing can linger. If anything, juking against Coolkid isn't viable at all since, yeah, he might not have Jason hitboxes, but he can sure as hell drag them on top of you.
Wow! What a drag.
In regards to that Brawler playstyle, he has one mean fist. A move that entirely complements his basic punch is Corrupt Nature. Corrupt Nature, not to be confused with Energy, is a slow-moving insta-cast projectile that goes through walls, has an indefinite range, can be pierced, can be aimed, does 15 damage, and applies slowness 1 for 4 seconds. Quite a lot, huh? Well, all you need to know is that hitting this grants you lots of value. Slowness 1 for 4 seconds is enough for about 2 free hits, or roughly 53 damage. This is because the slowness not only affects the survivor's speed, but also the speed boost they get after you hit them, leading to an incredibly easy 1-2 combo. Because this ability is also a projectile, you can use it to destroy sentries a lot quicker and pierce through guests' block. Sometimes. It generally depends on when you use Corrupt Nature to get through it, but you can still negate the damage if you time it wrong. It's certainly not the best ability in this kit, but I can see people regard it as the worst ability in general. I understand 15 damage is very low, however, it wasn't built on killing potential. It was built to slow survivors down. 4 seconds is a very short duration, but it's enough for you to get at least one swing in. Imagine if he had an ability that did like 25 damage or applied slowness 2. Trust me, there's a reason why it's slowness 1. This is quite literally the ability to combo with since it has a low cooldown. Tell me, is using Walkspeed Override on a guest who failed their block a bad thing? Kinda? The damage you get for Walkspeed Override is a ton of damage, but it's less than the optimal damage you get for using Corrupt Nature, which ranges around 68 damage. Keep in mind, Coolkid can do that very quickly, so long as the break does not fly into the sky. I feel like this should be a simple fix for the developers. It'll reduce the number of times this happens and overall make him a lot better to use, in my opinion. Corrupt Nature is one of very few things he can do to close the distance. Every other killer has abilities to close the distance pretty well, with Jason having a really fat asterisk. Despite doing entirely different things, they all achieve the same thing: slow survivors down or have the killer close distance via speed or stamina. To add on to that, every killer can restart a chase. It isn't exclusive to high sprint speed killers. All you need to do is corner a survivor into a small loop, wait for his stamina to fully regenerate, and then initiate chase. Coolkid's only option to slow survivors down mid-chase is Corrupt Energy. Its low cooldown, windup, and ability to go through walls is meant to punish obvious pathing and sometimes force a survivor to take a wrong turn into an even worse position. Corrupt Nature is not meant for damage. It's to close distance, which, while using it in front of a survivor may look good, trust me, you're better off semi-sniping them when they turn corners and such. Doesn't mean you're forced to play this way though. I mean, all of his abilities are incredibly fast with the windups, except for minions, but they also string so well together. I could name a couple of times where I just used this on top of a survivor and just gained a lot of value from it. He has 2 abilities that have incredibly low cooldowns, allowing for some insane burst damage by just standing next to the guy. Yeah, he has the lowest DPS in terms of swinging, but he sure as hell makes up for it with Corrupt Nature and his fists. Oh yeah. Maybe we should talk about that. Although Walkspeed Override got a nerf, it still holds a pack of a punch, and actually holds some of its remnants of its prior state. If you weren't around, this move used to have a 7-frame windup while dealing 40 damage. This, of course, was just not fun at all to play against, since all Coolkid would need to do is hug you and then press a button. Sure, it was really slow, but oh my lord did it suck to go against. Now we're in an era where that type of gameplay, it still exists. The issue is that it's 27 frames. Sounds good, right? Well, firstly, the average human reaction time is around 20 frames. Still sounds good, right? Well, how far can a survivor get in 7 frames? Not that far, I imagine. This is an issue for survivors in specific since 1, 27 frames is incredibly fast, and 2, the move itself propels Coolkid into insane speeds, so more times than not, you're getting hit within 30 frames or less. The windup isn't the issue, it's more so the fact that when you do see it, your character is too fucking fat to move quickly enough out the way. It's certainly not mass infection speeds, but this move is practically its cousin. They're both low cooldown, they both deal 40 damage or more, and have fast projectiles. The only thing Walkspeed Override can't do is go through walls. unless you really wanted to. This isn't a good tech at all, since all the scenarios of this happening are incredibly slim and come by every blue moon. The best thing I could tell you is just to keep it at the back of your mind, and use it when you see an opportunity. Speaking of techs, Coolkid can do what's formerly called a hug tech, coined from the popular asymmetrical horror game Dead by Daylight. A hug tech in that game and this game is entirely different. To give you a quick rundown on how it was for Dead by Daylight, it allowed the killer, Blight, to hug onto a wall instead of bumping into it, making it so that you don't waste time bumping for the perfect hit. For Forsaken, it works roughly similarly. As of right now, only 2 killers can do the hug tech, with one of them not really needing it at all. Coolkid heavily benefits from this tech, both in straight lines and not. Hug tech allows you to practically speed blitz across a wall with Walkspeed Override, making it impossible to dodge, of course, if done right. And not only that, if the wall you're hugging has an end to it, you can go right past the wall and into the direction you were facing, allowing you to catch survivors very unexpectedly. Be warned, this tech can only be done on walls, and there are very few options to pick from, but let your imagination run wild. It's certainly a tech you can do. In this clip, I have nothing to say, just take a look.
Wow.
Maybe if you squint your eyes, this clip transforms into Blight from Dead by Daylight, but regardless, Walkspeed Override is an incredibly powerful tool that can be used to easily punish pretty much every survivor. That 27 frames is such an insane windup that even when you do expect it, you can't get out of the way in time. What's the downside? How about giving up an entire chase? Mostly. Walkspeed Override and Mass Infection are not the same thing. They can act very similarly, but you cannot use one like the other. The key component of Walkspeed Override is the fact that you don't send out a projectile. Rather, you are the projectile. This means that missing would essentially restart a chase from scratch. Mostly. To be honest, missing Walkspeed Override isn't too bad since Coolkid has legs. You'd be surprised as to how far his sprint speed gets him, or rather how far his Walkspeed Override gets him. There are rare scenarios where using Walkspeed Override from a distance does actually pay out in terms of stamina. Remember that little segment I had about restarting chases? Well, this move is damn near the perfect move to use to restart a chase. Coming out of a stun, Coolkid suffers a lot since more times than not, he doesn't have the stamina to continue a chase. That's why a majority of his damage is not only high burst, but also encourages you to jump from survivor to survivor. He doesn't have the capability to stick onto one survivor at a time. If anything, he's more focused on the things around him than just the survivor he's chasing, constantly being attentive and finding opportunities to punish survivors and switch targets. Isolating survivors, while encouraged by every other killer, can be possible with Coolkid, but it makes it absurdly difficult to, well, kill the rest of the lobby. There was a match I played that came down to the wire, like twice. In the first half, I was purely targeting a survivor, but then had to change my playstyle to punish as many survivors as possible. You wanna know how I won? By actually chasing survivors that I hit with Walkspeed Override. Walkspeed Override is Coolkid's crutch. It's that move that, if not used often, will bite you in the back, and if not used properly to punish others, will absolutely devour you in the later half. This lobby is by no means bad, but I did kinda win because of the mistakes. I should have lost because I was playing very stupidly with my Walkspeed Override. A very common thing I see with Coolkid players is this lack of Walkspeed Override usage. Yeah, the punishment for missing is bad, but the reward is good, if not better to risk for. It's gotten so bad that people just entirely forget the fact that it's an ability that you can just use. It can be an ability that you can punish with, but more times than not, you're most likely going to be using this really anytime you'd like. When a survivor is running out of stamina, when they miss an ability, when they're slowed, when they're distracted, when they're nearby, and the list goes on. The key thing to do with this ability is to not waste it. Yeah, you can get some psychological damage by keeping it on your belt, but 45 damage is a lot better than psychological damage. What I'm trying to say is to be bold with this ability. If you often play 1x, treat it as a mass infection but quicker. If you miss, oh well, go for the nearest person. Coolkid wasn't really meant for single target damage, I think at least. But now, this poses a unique question. What do you do during LMS? I don't know. Because you lose the very thing you were good at, Walkspeed Override loses like 90% of its usability, at least if you aren't as bold. LMS is an important segment since, 1, up until now I've been telling you, single target bad, switch target after 27 frame good. But now I'm gonna tell you to hold off that Walkspeed Override for now, as missing it could literally cost the entire LMS, but not utilizing it will also make you lose. I have 2 separate losses with 2 entirely separate outcomes. One of these LMSs I just straight up didn't utilize my Walkspeed Override enough, and for the other I just tried to make it my crutch. In this clip, I have somewhat of an excuse, that being lag, but in this one LMS, I only used Walkspeed Override to punish his blocks, which isn't too bad, but he was playing guest, which very much limited my use of this ability. Because 27 frames is within the average human reaction time, and all he needs to do is press a button, not only would it have given him a block, but it would also just let me phase through him and make me lose distance, giving him a stun and free distance. He had my Walkspeed Override locked, but knowing guests, it wasn't really locked. You see, I knew that he knew that I knew that I couldn't use Walkspeed Override so sluggishly, so he pretends to have it on belt, since he knows that I won't use it so rashly because it leads to an incredibly easy block. But he could use that information to his advantage, since I practically have free reign to M1 him, allowing him for an easy block since his block is occupied by my Walkspeed Override. In other words, I knew this block was coming. Both times I did manage to hit him, I knocked him too far back and he won just enough distance to win LMS last second.
No way!
In the other round I did lose in, I used Walkspeed Override too much. Firstly, I tried to do a hug tech but ended up failing. The other time I used it too far away, and the third time was about the only time I did actually hit him. Which, this clip is actually a really good example as to how slow the survivors really are. If they're about this far away, they have just enough time to react and move out the way. But any distance shorter than this, it ends up being a mass infection reskin. All you need to do is either aim straight at them or predict where they'll go, cause once again, intuition exists and survivors can dodge without even reacting. But it's not likely for this to happen because survivors lose distance if they predict wrong, and they could just wait for it to happen. Once again, Walkspeed Override can be used as a punishing tool, a ranged tool, a swap tool, an anything tool, since it's a literal ability. Nothing is stopping a Coolkid from popping a Walkspeed Override at this insane position. In other words, this ability could be a flintlock if you squint your eyes enough. Will you insta-kill a survivor or lose the game? Call it. Oh, and he has minions, I guess. There are times when you should use it, but all you need to know is that it shuts down the loop, forcing survivors to rotate, and that you can put them through walls and on top of each other. Low-key, just use this whenever you can. It keeps the survivors distracted and sometimes hit people. Is Coolkid the best killer? Ignoring my statement from the last video, maybe? Coolkid is that killer with risk-reward dynamics, especially since Walkspeed Override makes up his entire character. Corrupt Nature isn't too powerful, but also isn't too weak. It's sort of like the mediocre version of Entanglement or Corrupt Energy, as it can slow survivors down, but not to a screeching halt. Walkspeed Override is his defining ability, and his minions aren't too strong. They can keep survivors occupied, as trying to help survivors while being chased will most likely have you be punished instantly by either the minions, Coolkid, or both. It's nice to keep survivors out of chase, cause, you know, it sort of acts as like a behead if you squint your eyes. But regardless, Coolkid can throw a mean right punch if he gets close enough, but that's the issue. He needs to be close to you. It's why it's most recommended to jump from survivor to survivor instead of honing in on one singular survivor. You have enough stamina to quickly damage a lot of survivors, but not enough for a long chase. Take for example that small segment with the pro players. All of them were using their slowdowns perfectly, and while I did punish them, I made the mistake of not gunning it for them. Their slowdowns maybe waste about 2 minutes of the round until I had to switch up my playstyle and drastically play risky. Except I was already playing Coolkid somewhat efficiently. When I did make the swap to latch onto the nearest survivor, a ton of people were already injured, making it slightly easier to snowball my win. But what if you combined it? This is what I tested in the next competent lobby. Everybody here had 7 days or more on this game, with the highest in the lobby being 14 days. And not only that, there were 8 survivors, 7 if you don't include the 007 and 7. I tried my best to go from survivor to survivor, targeting one while damaging as much as possible, and only switching if I'm absolutely confident in killing or if I no longer can chase. You'd be surprised as to how many survivors were close to me. Oh my lord, he said the thing! However, even this strategy has its downside. Down to the last few survivors, I literally had 1 second left, except it kind of worked at the same time since the 007 and 7 was also very low. It's just that I heard the Taph nearby and thought it was a much easier kill. While I did try my best to swap targets, I once again found myself targeting one person while damaging others, which presents yet another way to play Coolkid, only swapping when you hit Walkspeed Override, which now we're entering territory I haven't even tested out yet. Coolkid is a lot more flexible than I thought, and while he can be incredibly strong as a multi-target killer, he is definitely also pretty strong for single target damage. I know how I said it sucked to hone in on one survivor, but once again he has some pretty insane burst damage that when applied can guarantee a kill. 45 damage is insane. That's nearly a Jason Gashing wound every 20 seconds. Not to say that he's weak against singular people, cause he isn't. It's just that he isn't equipped to continue chasing someone for an extended period of time, since he has no way to regenerate his stamina other than walking. I think that's his defining character, both Walkspeed Override and his stamina. One thing I should mention before closing this video is that this doesn't mean you should play the way that I do. Once again, I rarely play Coolkid and only just found a way that makes him somewhat of a valid killer. Because of his flexible nature, he has a lot of different ways to play. If you come to this video expecting an actual guide to Coolkid, I'm somewhat sorry. Look, if you want genuine advice on Coolkid, be more bold with Walkspeed Override. It's easily one of the most powerful abilities in the entire game, and your usage of it will define how well you play with him. And another thing, sorry to the Coolkid mains that had to endure my slander for the past 3 videos. I was pleasantly surprised when I was learning him, except I am still kinda mad about how strong Walkspeed Override is. However, I don't think it needs a nerf. We need to talk about 1x's state and the survivors before we talk about any kind of balance. So yeah, just get out there and hit Walkspeed Override, I guess.
Hello. Ignore the bad mic, but thank you for watching to this video. I don't really have any other closing thoughts than the future of this channel. So the next killer video will finally be on Noli after me dragging that across 3 videos, now counting 4 since of this video. However, I will admit it will take a lot longer than however long it took to make this video due to one thing in particular. I really like outcome memories. Save that for the outcome memories video. Anyways, I am currently pretty rusty on Forsaken because I haven't been playing Forsaken in a while. I've been trying out other asymmetrical horror games like Outcome Memories, Breaking and Steal Things, Die of Death, Pooned by 13, and so on and so forth. I'll see if I can make a video on those games, so stay tuned for those. As for the next video, it'll take a lot longer since I got other stuff I gotta focus on other than YouTube stuff, but I won't entirely be gone. It's just that my work is gonna have to slow down. If you have anything to add, an insult or a compliment, please comment it down since I provide literally nothing to the development of Forsaken. You have yourself a good morning, afternoon, evening, and night. How's it chat?